Right, welcome back to a brand new goal hanger video. We're back with a new one. We're in a bit of a different setting. Still the bedroom, but I've decided to go with this camera angle because the lighting is much better. And today, as you can see by the title and the thumbnail, we're doing our early championship predictions. Now, I'm just going to predict the bottom three and the top six. When it gets close to the championship season, I'll predict the whole tail. But at the moment, I'm just going to predict them because I think it'll be a bit easier on myself because it's early on. Clubs have still got many transfers to do, many ingoings and outgoings. Incomings, is that a word? I don't know. It's one of them. So let's get straight into it. We'll talk about the bottom three first of all. So third bottom in 22nd spot. Who do I have? Unfortunately, I've got my own team at Derby County. I think the off-the-pitch issues are going to get the better of us this season. We were fortunate last season to stay up thanks to a last-day draw and a Marlon Pat goal at Cardiff. So we were lucky to stay up because of that. But I think this season it's going to be a different story, unfortunately. I do think we'll get relegated because of the off-the-pitch issues and also the on-the-pitch issues. At the end of the day, I think at the moment, how many registered players do we have? Is it 13 or is it 8 or something like that? 8 first team, a couple of youngsters from the academy. We do have 5 trialists currently with Derby County, as well as Curtis Davis and Andre Wisdom still training with the team but without a contract. So if we can get those trialists in through the door and get Curtis Davis and Andre Wisdom back, then I do feel like we do have a chance of staying up if we don't get any injuries, because I believe in the first team quality that I've got through the players like Nathan Byrne, Tom Lawrence, Jason Knight, Christian Bielik when he's back from injury. I do believe they're better than any of the teams that are going to be in or around us come the end of the season. But whether we can stay up or not, that's a different question. Also, you do have to take into consideration that Derby still could get a points deduction. If we do get one of those, I don't think we're going to stay up because it takes a lot of effort to go above a points deduction and stay up. Sheff Wednesday, unfortunately, couldn't do it last season, and I don't think we'd be able to do it either. Coming in at second bottom and 23rd in the championship, I've put Peterborough. Now, the reason for this is I look at Peterborough's squad as it stands, it's the early prediction, and I just don't believe they've got enough championship quality level of players in their squad, and also it's a bit light in certain areas of that squad depth that they're going to need to stay up in the championship. I do like the attack that Peterborough, obviously former Derby County player who left this summer, Jack Marriott. He's a decent player. I do believe has it in him to have a decent championship season. Everybody's writing him off, but I did see signs of that in his game when he was at Derby County. They've also got Johnson Clark Harris, who's a quality player and was quality in League One last season for them. So I do think the attack that they've got is very well set up for the championship. However, I do think they're going to leak a lot of goals, and that's why they're going to finish second bottom. Right, bottom of the league, who am I predicting? 24th place. I'm predicting Huddersfield Town for bottom of the championship this season as an early prediction. The reason for that, I've had a look at Huddersfield's squad and I don't rate it at all. I don't see any top level of quality anywhere. Maybe Jordan Rhodes, but he hasn't had a good season since he was at Blackburn, and how many years ago was that now? So I do look at Huddersfield's squad and I do worry for them because they're turning into a League One squad in the championship, and I just don't see the right investment in the right areas. I don't see any smart signings, any decent players for a low fee, and it's just not looking good for Huddersfield. I think last season they were lucky not to get relegated. Whenever Derby played them, they were poor. So I don't think they'll be able to do it this season. I think they'll finish bottom of the league, and they will be needing a rebuild because there's been needed to be a rebuild at Huddersfield since they came down from the Premier League, even maybe before that, because the last decent season they had was under David Wagner. They've always been a low championship side until that David Wagner season when they went up. So I do think they'll go down to the 3rd division this season, unfortunately. Right, some honourable mentions for that in or around the bottom 3 that could also be down there, in my opinion, are Blackburn Rovers and Preston North End. Now, I'll start with Preston North End. We always associate Preston North End with a really decent start in the championship, up in the playoffs around September and October time, but then when it comes to November, December, they drop off and end up finishing mid-table, low mid-table, because usually they have a lack of funding that doesn't help them during January. Now, looking at the squad, they've lost a lot of decent additions. They've also got a manager that's never really had any first-team experience. So I think they're going to struggle this season. They've got to be really careful they don't drop into that bottom 3, because once you're in there, it's very difficult to get out. Blackburn Rovers, on the other hand, have lost a lot of quality players. They've not got Harvey Elliott. It looks like Adam Armstrong could be going to Southampton or maybe even another Premier League club. Bradley Johnson's left there as well. And they've lost a lot of quality, which helped them out at the start of last season to have the really decent run at the start before they fell off. And Tony Mowbray, he's not a manager that inspires confidence into me, and I'm not sure whether he'll do it into this Blackburn side. So they've got to be careful as well. And I do think they'll be finishing lower, around 19th place in and around the relegation zone. Right then, the one that you've all been waiting for, who am I predicting in the top 6? Well, we'll start with 6th place, and I've got Birmingham City. Now, funny enough, I think it was the last championship prediction video that I did at the start of last season. I predicted Birmingham to finish 4th or 5th. Obviously, they didn't have the season that we expected, but they had a really decent end to last season. They've got a manager who knows the club inside out and has won top-level trophy with the club as well in his playing days. They've got a squad of players now that he's brought into the club that do look really decent. They've got the foundations to really push on for a top 6 spot, and I do believe they can do that. Off the pitch, they've sorted themselves out as well, and it does just look a really decent squad at Birmingham City. And if they can get those players gelling, which I'm sure that they can, then there's no reason why they shouldn't be finishing in the playoffs, and that should be the aim for Birmingham City and their supporters this season, the playoffs. Because if not, I'd say it's a disappointment. With the foundations that they've got, that team should be gelling. Inconsistency shouldn't be a problem. It doesn't look like there's any more off the pitch issues from an outsider's point of view. It's the perfect setup for Birmingham City, and Birmingham remind me a lot of Derby County back in the day, back in the 13-14, 14-15, 15-16. I would say that squad reminds me of a squad of players that is good enough to go and push for the playoffs and should be in the playoffs. So hopefully they get 6th spot. Now for the 5th spot, I've predicted Reading to get the playoffs. They narrowly missed out last season, but they've kept the majority of the players as it stands. They've not made too many signings, but it's just a very solid squad and a good enough team to get that playoff spot. Now, they were very good last season, swept Derby off the park in both games, but they just narrowly missed out in the playoffs. But I do think this season they'll make it and they'll get 5th spot. They're going to be a tough team to beat, and if they don't get many injuries, then there's no reason why they can't finish in the playoffs. One thing that I do look at and worry about is their squad depth. I do think they need to make investment in all areas of the pitch just to build up the squad a bit more. In 4th place, I've got newly relegated Sheffield United. The reason for this is I do think that side was overachieving for the majority of time while Chris Wilder was in charge, but that's how good of a job Chris Wilder did. And the question that I always ask myself with Sheffield United side is how many of those players as individuals would get into another top championship side? Now look at that squad. There's definitely a lot now, obviously, since they've come down from the Premier League, such as Ramsdale, among others. You got Jayden Bogle, former Derby County right back, who looks a very decent talent, and they've got enough players to finish in that playoff spot, if not push for the automatic promotion spot. But I do think Djukanovic is going to have a tough time at Sheffield United because it's too much of Chris Wilder's squad. The foundations are there for him to really build a team of his own and really build upon a style of his own, but he will have to play to Chris Wilder's style of football, defensive and a solid approach, because they're the players that are there. They've not got the free-flowing attacking style of play that maybe Djukanovic would want to play, but I do think he'll line up pretty solid anyway, as he usually does. So that's my opinion on Sheffield United. I think they'll finish 4th in this coming championship season. Now in 3rd spot, I've put another newly relegated team, Fulham. They're without Scott Parker, and that's not a bad thing, you know. There's time for a restart at Fulham, not under Scott Parker this time. And they're a prime example, unfortunately, of a yo-yo clubber team, the Premier League and the Championship, as they're always too good for the Championship, but nowhere near good enough for the Premier League. And they really need to sort that out. And they've got a really good chance now under Marco Silva, and they've got the players to go back up. I look at Mitrovic as a talisman. They've got Bobby Reid. I know Caballero isn't the best of forwards. I know Fulham fans have talked about that before. He's not the best of forwards, but they've got more than enough quality in that side to go in the playoffs and push for promotion through the automatics. But I don't think they'll make the automatics because I just don't think it's going to gel for Fulham like it always has done before. But the foundations are there for them to do something, for them to kick on. They've just got to make it work. But I've just got a slight bit of hesitation about Fulham this season coming. I'm not sure what it is, but that can all be blown away if Mitrovic finds his Championship 17-18 form where he's unplayable. So we'll have to see what happens with Fulham, but I do still think they'll finish 3rd. Now, who do I have predicted in the top 2? Well, in 2nd place, I've got Bournemouth. Scott Parker is the new manager. He's done very well at Fulham, in my opinion. Now it's a chance for him to really build his career and show that he can be a decent manager, because I think he's a really good manager, but now he's got to prove it at another club other to Fulham. I do think it was a really good move for him to go from Fulham to Bournemouth, a fresh start for him and Fulham, as well as Bournemouth. And Bournemouth ooze quality. They ooze Championship and Premier League quality. I look at the players like David Brooks, who I loved at Sheffield United. I thought he was a really good talent. Moved to Bournemouth, didn't really hit the heights that he was doing at Sheffield United. Dan Juma, Asmir Begovic, these are all Premier League players that really need to kick on now in this season, because they underperformed last season under Jonathan Woodgate. They underperformed. They should have gone up, but they didn't. They lost in the playoff final to Brentford. And this is a chance for them to go and get the automatics and push for the league title. And I do believe they can do that under a good manager like Scott Parker. And they've got to do that. If they don't do that, then in my opinion, it's disappointment for Bournemouth this coming season. Who have I got predicted to finish top of the Championship. Well, you can probably guess yourself, you've got a good idea. I've got newly relegated West Brom under Ishmael as the manager, who did really well at Barnsley, getting them into the playoffs. He plays a very solid and defensive style of play, which will suit West Brom down to the ground. They're used to it under Sam Allardyce and previous managers. They've got a squad that can do that. But when I looked at their squad, it's very odd to me. They've got players such as Pereira, who are fantastic attacking players. You think the direct style of play might not suit, but he does fit into it well. And I do think they're going to play a direct style of football under Ishmael at West Brom. But you look at their team, it's full of Premier League players all over the pitch. They've got Alex Mowat, who's got bags of Championship experience, has been a quality Championship player for a long time at Barnsley. So going to West Brom is a really solid move. They've also recently signed Matt Clark, a young centre-back on loan from Brighton, with also an option in there to buy him permanently at the end of that. And Matt Clark won Player of the Season on his first loan spell at Derby County, and he had a great season last season as well. And he's a quality Championship player. He's easily been one of the best Championship centre-backs since coming on loan to Derby County. And I was really disappointed we couldn't get him on loan for a third season in a row. But he's gone to West Brom. I do think he'll get promotion with West Brom. He's a quality player, and they've got all the right mixture at West Brom for them to go on and get automatic promotion and probably win the league under Ishmael. It could be a one-hit wonder, and I could be completely wrong, and West Brom could only just manage to scrape playoffs. But I feel like the quality that they've got so good that doesn't matter what style of play they're going to play, it's going to suit to them, and they'll be able to get results out of it and push them automatic promotion places. Some honourable mentions for the playoffs, in my opinion, are Cardiff, Nottingham Forest and Millwall. Now, as it stands, Cardiff have a very solid squad. It's just very inconsistent under Mick McCarthy, and they came close last season but just didn't make it. Millwall have done some very good business, such as Benfica Phobe, which they needed a recognised goal scorer. And under Gary Rowett, you know, he's got Derby County in the playoffs before. He very nearly got Birmingham in the playoffs when he was there. So maybe he can do that for this Millwall side. And they've got the foundations to do that. And if he can't do that, it's poor from him, because at the end of the day, looking at the tidy signings that they've made, they should be between or in and around that 10th spot, pushing for the playoffs. Nottingham Forest as well. Chris Hughton is well known for being good in his second season of management with a team. And they've got to make a few more signings, Nottingham Forest, to definitely be in and around there. They seem to either sign too many players or not the right players. They need to get that right. And do I think he'll do it this season coming Nottingham Forest? No, that's why I've not put him in the playoffs. Biased aside, I just think there's too many other factors at Nottingham Forest which wouldn't result in that. So there you have it. They're my early Championship predictions. Do you agree with me? Let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Follow my social medias in the description. I'll do another one of these videos but about the whole Championship table when we get close to the season. I'll see you in the next one.